Are you a yoga studio owner who's tired of chasing leads that don't convert? At the Sales Arms, they specialize in helping boutique fitness and wellness studios like yours build a revenue-generating systems that actually work. From filling classes to boosting retention, their team takes the stress out of the follow-up and gives you back the time to focus on what you really love most, teaching and serving your community. Right now, the Sales Arms are offering my listeners, the Yoga Biz Champ podcast listeners, a complimentary 45-minute strategy session where you'll walk away with clear steps you can implement immediately to grow your membership and your revenue. So book your session today at thesalesarms.com/yoga biz champ, and you can start selling with confidence. So again, that's the sales with an S at the end, arms with an S at the end, .com/yoga biz champ. Hey champs, welcome back to the Yoga Biz Champ podcast with myself, Michael J. Today we're diving into something that a lot of community yoga studio owners think about, but don't always say out loud: buying, selling, exiting, or even acquiring. Whether you're dreaming of starting a yoga studio, growing the one you have, or wondering what it might be worth one day, this conversation matters. I'm joined again by my pal, Mitch McGinley from Boutique Fitness Brokers. He's in the trenches every single day helping boutique fitness and yoga studio owners buy and sell businesses across North America and now the world. And today we're talking about what's actually happening in 2026. What studios are selling, what buyers are looking for, what quietly kills deals, and why community-driven yoga studios are still incredibly valuable when they're built properly. If you think your studio is too small to sell, or you're overwhelmed and don't even know where to start, stay with us and let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of Yoga Biz Champ. I have a familiar face or voice. It's been a minute since we've had him back, but we have a few episodes of buying and selling yoga studios with my good friend and sponsor of this podcast who jumped on right away, Mitch McGinley from Boutique Fitness Brokers. Hey, Mitch.
Hi, Michael.
Good to see you.
It's great to see you. Since last time I got your matching haircut.
Yeah, we're twinning today with the shaved heads. And
I have to say, I love it. I wish I had done it 10 years earlier and not dreaded it as much as I did.
Yeah, very freeing. Good to see you. Since we last spoke, a lot has changed for you. You've moved from San Diego and now you are in Spain with your family, and you're still have this amazing business going where you're helping people buy and sell fitness studios.
Yeah, it has been one of the craziest years of my life, for sure. But it's been so awesome. And I'm really excited about the growth that we've had personally. I'm really excited about the growth that our company has had professionally. We're starting to talk to more and more businesses in different countries.
Yeah.
Which is a really fascinating. I had a conversation today with somebody who has a business that's right off the coast of Nice, someone who works right off the coast in Mallorca, and these people are finding me and asking for help. And truthfully, I'm not trying to sell myself internationally because there's still so much that I need to learn.
Yeah.
But it's pushing me to learn more quickly. And if I have to travel and write off the travel in the meantime, so be it.
Well, congratulations. It sounds like a great lifestyle, and it's kind of fun following you on Instagram too and seeing everything you're doing.
Yeah.
2026 in our industry, I feel like since we last spoke, I feel like there's been kind of big shifts in the industry as far as I feel like there's a lot of spaces opening, like big spaces, big investments, upfront investments, in sound systems and heating systems and the full experience where, people can jump into the sauna and it's kind of all you can eat under one roof. So I'm kind of curious, if you're seeing that, I'm definitely seeing that, where that leaves the community yoga studio, which is the people I feel like I am a champion for. It's that independent. And I mean, I feel like you can make a lot of growth in one space as well. So I'm kind of curious what you're seeing right now.
I share your love of the community. I think, the two of us having owned a single yoga studio in a community is probably has a lot to do with that. But it's interesting for me because I usually see things a little bit delayed in terms of the trendiness of it. Because when people start selling, it's usually a couple years into it already being trendy.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, like I started working as a broker really like during COVID. And so, coming out of COVID, Pilates has been all the rage and has been growing like crazy.
Yeah.
And so it's been really good for me to work in Pilates. But the more that I see the trends, and you could go back to like Soul Cycle, Orange Theory, bar definitely goes somewhere in there, I think, and look at sort of the lifetime of certain trends. And I think that what you're describing with the big investments and the everything you can eat under one roof and the crazy build outs and all that stuff, to me, those are trends.
Right.
And what I always believe has staying power are the people who are offering something to their community with passion and authenticity on a personal level and making an impact in their community. So I think all of these businesses that you and I are working with and talking to are my favorite businesses for a lot of reasons. But one of them is that I think they really do have staying power.
Yeah. Do you think more in the yoga world?
It's easier to say that for yoga right now. I think yoga has gone through, a culling of the herd, if you will. Like COVID was really hard on yoga and bar and cycle.
Yeah. The people that didn't have the systems in place during that time.
Yeah. So I think, it's a couple different stats, but somewhere around 30 to 40%, I think, of the businesses closed during that time, like permanently.
Yeah.
And so, the ones that survived, I think, are continuing to thrive now. I think Pilates will have that moment. Right now, it's everyone's rushing into that space, because they see the margins.
Yeah. And Legree, I think, as well. Legree is blowing up.
Yeah. I call those Pilates adjacent. I know they don't.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to use the other words. But yeah, I mean, it's, somewhere between 10 and 16 machines in a rectangle.
Yeah.
There's nothing really proprietary about it. It's hard. You might be in Legree and have a licensed machine. You might be part of a franchise and have, a licensed brand, but it's hard to have something that's like really original and authentic in something as big as Pilates. And so where it really comes in to me is just, the relationships that you have in the community and, how involved are you with the local Chamber of Commerce and the schools and the parents, and all of those things.
And the fundraising you do. Yeah.
That's where the real impact, I think that we all want to have in these businesses really lies. So I'm still bullish on it. I'm not worried about the investments and Nike and whoever else.
Yeah. What are you seeing let's talk about one certain market. So I will go as far as say Vancouver fits into the market. I see some of the California coastal areas really have a hard time with this. And in some areas, there's just a saturation of everything. I mean, gyms, sauna, Pilates, like a mass saturation, which is one level of competition. And those areas here in Vancouver too have very, very high rents. I know some have got $14,000 a month in rent, and they're all on ClassPass. And so I'm kind of curious what you're seeing in this kind of thing, because it's a thing I come across a lot. And it's when I first am talking to somebody and they're explaining the demographics to me, I always ask, what's ClassPass like in your area too? Because that's an extra level of competition against a membership in a studio. And so I'm feeling like some of those community studios, it's hard to fight your way, to be a differentiator with all that going on. Can you kind of tell me if you've seen that in areas too?
Oh, for sure. And then you see ClassPass merging with Fitness KPI now.
Yeah.
It's like they are going to keep taking over the biggest companies the way that MindBody always has. And now, with this acquisition, they're leveraging what I believe to be the best AI that exists in this space so far.
Okay.
And that's actually been really interesting because I've learned more about Fitness KPI here in Spain. but they believe it, that it's all coming. And so what we're on the cusp of having for the first time really is industry benchmarks that we can rely on, where we're going to be able to look at your business in your city and tell you how well you're doing in terms of conversions, new members, new members converting to long-term members, all of those things, specifically in yoga, specifically in a size town this big, that's probably going to really change the business. I hope for the better. I always try to see the positives in these things because they're happening. But I think we're about to gain a lot more insights as to how to be better owners. And, when it comes back to things like ClassPass, I think that as AI improves, the tech conglomerates are actually going to lose some leverage as to things like ClassPass. I think that owners will become more competent at their own pricing strategies to sell those last minute seats than using a third-party broker.
Right.
I'm still stunned that there hasn't been like a very authentic strike against ClassPass. Like, I really think that people could get together and make it happen. But
I 100%, I always think about in Vancouver here, like I sometimes will just get ClassPass just to experiment, they offer it for $5 for a month. And I'll do that. And because you can then go and see what the offers are and what the studios are and what have you. And I always look at that and I think, if I could get a mass meeting of all the studio owners together in one city to say, we're done. By the way, I'm a mind-body partner as well.
That's right.
But I'm finding it's that studio owner in that demographic is really punching hard to get new people in and retain them, I find.
Which is always the hardest thing, right? And that work never stops when you're a studio owner. You always have to be having first-time visits and converting them to membership. And then you have to keep them.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to see, some of the stuff that comes out in the next year. Like, stuff's going to start changing so fast that we're not going to be able to keep up at all. But I'm also kind of terrified.
Well, there are some great things happening in the softwares, right? I'm seeing a lot of the softwares, like the AI is now giving data. It's using that KPI data so that people don't have to do those terrible spreadsheets that we do, and giving them, I'm seeing it now with real data saying, this is your real data, this is what you need to do, and giving advice on there. And at first I was like, oh, is that going to take jobs away from consultants? And then I started thinking, no, there's always going to be a need for that in customer experience. I'm kind of curious that you see every studio across the board. Like you must see every when it comes to buying and selling, you've seen people selling at successful times, and you're also seeing them selling at struggling times. What do you see? Like, let's say a community studio that's not in that saturated area, what are you seeing is the magic formula for that studio for growth to sell?
The ones that are able to sell, successfully, none of this is rocket science. It's just it's good business strategy. It's the same stuff. It's you want to minimize risk, and so for some people that might mean making sure that the owner isn't the face, the manager, and the lead teacher of the business. Because if you are, you're not replaceable.
Yeah, it's not sellable.
And you want to make sure that there's not any one person in your studio who has that kind of importance, because it's too risky. And so, having a strong staff with a deep bench, the sports analogy is like younger employees with opportunities to grow into roles that are highly systemized and structured, are the things that make for really successful exits. Because buyers who look to buy a business like this, and there's all kinds of buyers, and I think people are often confused. They think like there's just people out there with money willing to throw their money at such things, and it's really not true. There's very few people in the world who are out there that want to buy your exact business, that's your brainchild, and they all want to pay as little as they can for it, and then they want to keep it. They usually don't want to mess anything up. They don't want to have to run the day-to-day. They don't want to come in and like mess things up when they're buying it.
Yeah.
But these buyers are a needle in a haystack. And so, what you really have to do is wrap this pretty bow around your business and be like, hey, here's this self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, you can now take it and run with it and add whatever value you can add and then improve it. And then you'll be able to sell it again in a few years for more because you've added value with your expertise. And so in that sense, like, I continue to be super optimistic about it. I think the ones that are really successful, again, it's the staff, the structure. You need to have clean books. Your accounting needs to be on point. Don't be hiding your profit, from the government, because you need to be able to show it to lenders.
Meaning, don't take those cash things because you actually need to show that on the books.
Yeah, show your profit and pay your taxes. It's worth it in the end, especially if you're about to sell. And then the last thing is, and this is the one that people are always surprised to hear, but I still just keep screaming it from the rooftops. Talk about wanting to sell your business. There's no reason to, it's like, it should be a normal thing. No one keeps the same job for their whole career. Why would you own the same business for your whole lifetime? Like, we all want new challenges, and there's life cycles to these things. Yeah. We owned our studio for 6 years. How long was yours? Yours was longer.
I had mine for 13, and it's now in its 23rd or 4th year, and its 3rd owner.
Which is amazing.
It's a legacy, right?
Mine's on its 4th owner, still in existence, probably about 25 years.
Yeah.
And I genuinely believe that with every generation, it gets better. It's someone who comes in and brings new energy when you're tired. And so when you're starting to think about selling, talk about it. Tell your staff, it's no big, there's nothing for anybody to be afraid of.
Yeah. So quite often there's a listing and it's very private and hidden and no details and what have you. Quite often that's the case, right? Don't want it out in the community.
And then it gets out anyway. And wouldn't you rather your staff and teachers hear it from you than to hear it from someone who like runs in the lobby and screams it at the top of their lungs? Like, usually the staff, in my experience, they're very grateful for the honesty. They're grateful for the opportunity to consider it. And it lands well when you're the owner and you're like, I'm telling you because I would like one of you to be the buyer.
Yeah.
So we can preserve this authentic offering that we have, as opposed to someone from the internet.
And it's not always a teacher too. Like, sometimes it's an avid student of yoga that doesn't want to be a teacher. So that's one that I quite often see. You said something a minute ago about handing over with a bow, right? So I had a business coach that helped. I had 2 business coaches, but the second one helped me realize that I had something of value. I didn't think as a yoga teacher, I didn't think past beyond me. I didn't think it would have a life past me. And so she was the one that had me put the systems in place, the operation manuals, looking at the numbers, changing the pricing, all of that, and structure, like putting a structure to everything. So when you say handing over with a bow, is that what you mean? Like a nice, clean, this is how the business is run. Everything's organized. And I always say, even if you're just opening a brand new studio, that's the best time to start that structure.
For sure. They're like, it's start out correct. And these consultants like yourself who work in the industry, who are masters of KPIs and systems and knowing, oh my gosh, just keeping up with the different softwares and the different marketing agencies, techniques, trends, social media trends is a full-time job. Like, we know we live in this world where like we have to study and travel and listen and do all of these things to try and keep up with what's going on. And we're not running studios anymore. And so leaning on those consultants or coaches or experts, whoever they are in your world, is really key. And for me, more towards the growth or M&A side, we then add in, the attorney and the CPA and all of the, more expensive consultants.
Yeah. And so when you go to these studios or someone's selling, are you finding that they're more successful? Like that person that's got everything together and they've kind of got their eye on the prize instead of feeling kind of like a lot of I think studio owners always feel like they're kind of scrambling instead of getting ahead. But those people that are a little bit more organized, got the structure in place, team leadership as well, I think is a big thing in there as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's the ones that are structured and organized and have the solid team who have smooth exits. And it's the ones who, don't have clean books, who are trying to hide money somewhere and don't get away with it during a rigorous due diligence process. And I saw something recently. It was a really helpful stat. It was from an accounting firm that does these quality of earnings analysis, which is not quite an audit, but let's just say they verify your numbers. Look at your bank statements, tie it to the sales, see where all the money really is. And they posted their own stats on why deals fall apart at this stage. And 25% of them had errors in their accounting that resulted in a price adjustment.
Right.
And then 15% of them had an error in accounting that caused the deal to fall apart. Just with this one firm, it was like 250 deals, like almost half of the deals at least had to have a renegotiation because the numbers weren't right from the start. And so, it's those things make such a critical, because if you go into it knowing that your numbers are right, you have so much more confidence when you're negotiating because you know that when you get into due diligence later, nothing bad is going to happen.
Yeah.
You've already done it yourself. And so, when somebody makes an offer at a certain amount, you can trust that they're actually going to follow through. And that's really important when it comes to signing contracts.
Running a yoga studio, then the back end can be a lot. If you're juggling 5 different apps to manage schedules, payments, teachers, and memberships, there's a better way. Offering Tree brings it all together. Class bookings, teacher payouts, retail, your website, one platform. Plus, you get free onboarding with data migration and access to free group business coaching to help you grow. Start 2026 organized. Visit offeringtree.com/Yoga Biz Champ podcast for your free trial. That's offeringtree.com/Yoga Biz Champ podcast, the all-in-one system your studio deserves. So how do you think a deeply rooted community yoga studio can outperform a trend-driven concept in resale value?
Oh man, with their hearts. Here's another one, outperform. There's so many different ways that you could interpret that word, right?
Yeah.
I think most people in the franchise world, when they start up, spend close to $500,000 on a build out. They rarely get that money back.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, if you put $500,000 into it and then you make $100,000 a year for 5 years and then you sell it, all you're getting is the sale price. If you bootstrap and are, starting in your community from an authentic place and not going $500,000 into debt, and then you build to make $100,000 a year, you're more profitable.
Yeah.
The first 5 years, which is the normal lifetime of ownership for these things. And so, if you can get in at a low price and grow something that's really authentic, you can outperform anything that's cookie cutter. Here's the recipe for a 15% fee kind of deal. Because franchises take half the profit usually.
Yeah. I always say that about the build out. It's going to take a long time to get that money back. And I'm not saying that's the wrong way, but I will say that I've got some very successful studios that have got incredibly low rent. Like I had one studio in Canada started at about $1,000 a month in rent. I mean, you can build an incredibly profitable business with a very basic space and just do really good stuff within those 4 walls and outside the 4 walls.
Yeah. And it really is. It's so satisfying, to build something from scratch in that regard and to witness the growth over the years. And I think that's what I love the most about this industry. It's full of people who want to make other people's lives better and often at their own expense, and especially in the yoga community, we see this all the time. Like people think that money is like a bad thing, like that they're not supposed to ask for money or that they don't deserve to make money. And, I think that's something else we have to talk about more and normalize is that to be a successful community, thriving business, you need to be profitable.
Yeah.
And make enough to take good care of your employees and your clients and your landlord and all the things.
Yep. How do you quantify community strength in a deal?
Membership retention is probably one of the main KPIs that people look at. It's, what's your membership turnover? And if it's really high, it's a huge red flag that you're lacking that community. People don't feel like they belong. They don't want to stay. Whereas, the businesses, both with staff and clients that have really strong retention, not only does that show in the numbers, through everything and positive sales and positive profit, but it really shows to the buyer that the people who are in this business are really committed to the business and that it's bigger than the owner. That's the kind of thing that proves that it's not just the owner, because the owner's not really there anymore. And, like the one we just did in Nashville, it was like she opened a second location and was virtually never there. And so it was a huge, the big difference for her was everyone at the first location knew her and only her. No one at the second location knew her. And that was the first step towards her exiting.
Yeah.
And it was a really successful, if you'll let me, I'll share this story very quickly.
Yeah, please.
But she had one location. She was doing really well with it, making a couple $100,000 a year in profit. And she was opening a second location. And it was brand new. And she was anxious to sell and she was tired. She was burned out. She's like, I don't have the energy left to do this. And I was like, look, if you can just stick this out for 18 months and see this second location match your first location and get yourself out of the day-to-day and get someone else in there managing, then you will be able to sell this and get the number that you want. And to her credit, she crushed it to pieces. It took 18 months and she ended up selling for about double what we were asking before. And instead of having very few inquiries on a difficult sell, we had a ton of inquiries. It was very competitive. There were a lot of great candidates. Many people could have been great buyers for the business. And that's where you want to be.
Yeah.
That's what I love. When my job goes right, that's it. It's give you some advice, work hard on it for a minute, fix those things, and then go sell for a lot more and use the process to leverage people against each other to get the best buyer to preserve your legacy. And 9 times out of 10, the person that the owner seller wants is the person from the community instead of someone from outside, no matter how much money is different.
Yeah. What's one myth about selling a yoga studio that needs to die?
You can't talk about it. Got to talk about it the whole time. When you buy a yoga studio, start talking about selling the yoga studio.
That you're building it to grow, to sell.
Yeah, I'm buying it and my goal is to sell it in 10 years when my kids go to college so that I can pay for college. Whatever it is. And just be honest about it because it's certainly nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing for anybody to worry about. It's normal. And the more yoga has taught me to manifest stuff. Yeah. It's hard to manifest stuff if you don't talk about it.
Yeah. I talk to my studio owners all about manifesting. If you've got a goal of selling a certain amount of intro offers, put it in front of you. Like if that's your goal for the month, put it out there, right?
Yeah. High five it every day when you're brushing your teeth.
Yeah. What's one uncomfortable truth owners need to hear?
Your business is probably not worth as much as to somebody else as it is to you.
Yeah, I see sometimes. So I quite often will pass people on to you that are looking to buy. And then they'll sometimes see what the owners are asking for. And sometimes it's kind of funny.
I'm lucky to be in a place now where I don't work with those people as sellers who are unrealistic because it's, I'll never get paid. I'll just do work and never ever get paid. But yeah, I'm usually the first person to disappoint sellers, which is a terrible way to start my relationship with them. But, it's tough to put a number on your baby and no one likes to do it. And I think what matters more is that people focus on the fact that their businesses are inherently valuable. And it's always better to sell for something than for nothing. I see so many people who are like, oh, I'd rather just shut it down than accept $50,000. And I have never understood that. There's no part of my soul that understands any of that. It's take the $50,000, keep the community open.
Yeah.
Like no one needs to know that you got 50 instead of 500. Like it doesn't matter at all. It's private.
Yeah.
Get what you can and be proud of it and move on and have the community continue and put it in the right person's hands.
Hey champs, I want to spotlight our podcast sponsor and someone I consider both a friend and a trusted expert, Mitch McGinley from Boutique Fitness Brokers. He's been on my podcast multiple times. He's a former yoga studio owner just like us. Mitch and his wife successfully sold their studio just like I did, and now he helps others do the same. So if you've heard my conversation with Jill Agonias on this podcast, she sold her studio for well over asking price thanks to Mitch's guidance. Whether you're thinking about selling your yoga studio for top dollar or you're looking to buy an existing studio, and let me tell you, that can be a great head start instead of building from scratch. Mitch is your go-to guy, seriously. He understands the ins and outs of the yoga industry, from valuation to finding the right buyer or seller. Plus, he's been right where you are, so he gets it. I'm always talking about building a profitable business that can be sold or carried on. My former studio is in its 22nd year now, and it's under its third owner, and I consider that a legacy. So if you want to explore your options for buying or selling, head over to yogabizchamp.link/BFB to book a no obligation chat with Mitch himself. And trust me, it's never too early to start planning for your yoga studio's future success. Again, that's yogabizchamp.link/BFB. What would you say to studio owners that are doing it all? So you see this, they're doing it all. They don't have a team under them, even the small community studio. I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are there and what advice you would give. Because I know sometimes it's always that really hard jump to bring somebody else on to help.
Yeah, I think the first thing I would say is that I see you.
Yeah.
I've been there, no matter what, if we're talking about yoga studios or our parents or, partner, whatever it is, we all have a tendency to put everything on our shoulders and feel like we're the only ones that can do it. And that's your ego getting in the way. There's nothing heroic about burning out, and it's not smart. It's risky. Your heart's in the right place, but you're going about it the wrong way. And what you need to focus on is finding people who will match your energy and will help support you and will help free you up so that you can work on the higher level things that you need to work on to grow the business.
And the things you enjoy.
Right? It's like if you're cleaning the toilet all the time, you can't be working on new leads.
I'm going to make a t-shirt out of that. If you're cleaning the toilet all the time, you can't be working on new leads. I love it.
That being said, if your plumbing doesn't work, it doesn't matter if you have new leads. So, it's like I've been there, and I'm super sympathetic to all of it. But over time, it really should be a pragmatic approach to growth.
And that investment should make you money, right? It should help you make money and grow.
Yeah. And it doesn't need to be dramatic shifts. It's elevating someone to a part-time manager role and then elevating them to a full-time manager role. Yes. And then, maybe a sales coordinator, just these little changes that, once you start to make a little money, you need to reinvest in.
Yeah. I also say not everything has to be a position. It can be a project, which is like you can go to Fiverr or any of those online freelance things where you need a thing done or your brand done or something like that. You can hire someone for that one project to get it done. It doesn't always have to be an employee type of situation, right? To help you grow.
Which is so much simpler logistically, right? I mean, especially you get into some of these conversations, different states and employee labor laws and there's some crazy stressful stuff. And so I totally agree with that. And the whole gig economy, outsource as much as you can and use virtual assistants and AI and, focus on the community. Like make that what you're focused on as the owner, and they'll let you know what they need to keep your business thriving.
Yeah. If someone is listening right now and they're quietly thinking, is it time? What should they do next?
Please call me. It's like the least scary conversation. I realize that it's it's sort of scary to admit to yourself. But it's one of those things that, like, after one single conversation, everybody always says, okay, I feel much better. I feel empowered with some knowledge where I stand, what might be possible, what might not be possible.
Yeah, because they could be looking 2 or 3 years down the line, right? It's like even to have that conversation when you're looking out a few years down the line, I think is important too as well.
Very, because if there's something that needs to change with your tax structure, that takes years. I mean, if it's right now, it's like it's the beginning of February. Like if you were going to make a change right now, it would be 2 years until you had a full year of your new structure and a tax return.
Yeah, and profits are important.
Profits are important.
Yes. Also, I just people wanting to get into the industry. I work with a lot of studio owners opening, and it's my favorite part of my job is helping people get through those. But there are different ways to get in. Sometimes it's like a yoga teacher sees that space on the corner. Sometimes it is a space becoming available. There's different ways of getting into owning a yoga studio.
There are. And what I would encourage everyone to do if they're interested, besides talking to you, because you are the very best at this, no doubt.
Thank you.
Is to talk about it. Go talk to owners, talk to people who are selling their studios, even, if it's maybe not in an area that you would consider. Attend conferences, like listen to trends and, hear experts and panels and webinars and all kinds of stuff so that you can really, manifest the right situation for yourself, because there's no doubt that you can start any way. You could find a space, you could have a space handed to you, you could pursue something. Like there's so many different ways you could acquire something. There's a decent chance at this point, like you could buy a bar cycle studio that's going out of business and change it to a yoga studio. And it would be very, very cheap to do.
Because the build-out's already done.
And a lot of those places that went up have great spaces and great areas with great parking and visibility. And, like anything, it's you want to do your homework and talk to experts and listen to experts, but believe in yourself and just start working on it.
Towards the goal.
Entrepreneurship isn't easy. The reason I think so many people shy away from it is because of fear of failure.
Yeah, it takes a scrappy person, right?
Yeah. And at the same time, I would tell every human being alive that they have what it takes to be an entrepreneur. They just have to believe in themselves.
Yeah. Thank you, Mitch.
It's always a pleasure. I love hanging out with you.
It's always great having you on and just picking your brain. And I'm going to throw a couple at you. If you were a yoga pose, what would you be and why?
Oh, boy. And now I'm going to totally blank on all of my...
I should have given you a heads up. I'm putting you on the
I was really hoping to articulate a really beautiful Sanskrit, but I can't. So I'm just going to... Pigeon is my favorite, half pigeon.
Ah, yeah.
But that's truly because my hips are always so tight that it feels so good.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'm not sure, but I think that's my answer.
And something about you that most people wouldn't know.
Well, on a simple level, most people wouldn't know that I live in Spain and spend a couple hours a day studying Spanish.
Yeah.
That's fun. But something that's probably more interesting or a little bit more insightful, yeah, that would get me in trouble. I can't say that one.
We'll leave it there.
I'll say it this way. There is a group of us who we've been friends a long time. We've been colleagues a long time. You and I included, Michael, who love this industry. And when we get together at conferences, maybe once a year, it's always really great to be with friends and to feel like that community, even though it exists in these businesses in a very specific location, does actually translate to much larger spaces. And,
yeah,
we'll see each other at HFA next month.
I get to see you for the first time in a few years next month. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while and I'm excited.
Yeah, I agree. And especially, we go back to I feel like there was a time where the mind-body consultants was kind of an elite group out in the world. But I feel like those connections are still there when we see each other. And it is so nice to get together in this weird, wild world that most people don't, yoga studio owners that are listening do, but most people don't have a clue what goes on in the inner works of our industry. So it's lovely being around people that you don't have to explain yourself to.
Right. and who are all going through the same challenges.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. It's like feeling seen.
Yeah. Where can people find you, Mitch? I know they can always get your booking link in every single show note on every single podcast episode because you are amazing and jumped on board from the first email I sent out for sponsor requests, and you've stuck with me.
Of course I did.
So thank you so much.
Well, I feel like, we've been at this together for such a long time. And I'm so proud of you and everything that you've created and how successful I'm not surprised at all.
Thank you so much.
If you'd told me 10 years ago that we'd be sitting here having this conversation, I'd be way more surprised about myself than I would you. But, my brand is Boutique Fitness Broker. My email is mitch@boutiquefitnessbroker.com.
Yeah, and book with him, link in the show notes.
Yeah. And
definitely have the exit plan in mind.
I just like to talk. It's all I ever do. I don't charge anybody anything, and I just talk. And so it's a really wonderful way to be.
Thank you so much, Mitch.
Thank you, Michael.
Champs, here's the bottom line. The work that makes your yoga studio stronger today, clean books, leadership depth, retention systems, is the exact same work that makes it sellable tomorrow. Selling isn't failure, buying isn't reckless, and growing doesn't have to mean doing everything alone. If you're thinking about a yoga studio, growing the one you have, or even buying one instead of building from scratch, you don't have to figure that out solo. That is what I do every day with community yoga studio owners. So you can book a free strategy call with me at yogabizchamp.com/book. And let's look at your numbers, your structure, and your next move. Whether it's growth, acquisition, or exit, let's build it properly. Until the next episode, see you next time. Thanks for tuning in, champs. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review. It really helps me out a lot. And if you're ready to open your own studio or grow your current one, visit yogabizchamp.link/podlink. Again, that's yogabizchamp.link/podlink to book your free strategy call with me and explore my starter studio and grow a studio packages. And you'll also get access to all of my free Yoga Biz Champ resources there. And you can also check out the video content on YouTube for more insights, and follow me on all social media platforms at Yoga Biz Champ. See you next time.